Hey, buddy.
By golly, we got it.
So, are you sad we're not doing facing like each other now? Like you just had that experience of some WhatsApp FaceTime with me, and now it's gone.
Now it is gone. Now I do feel like shit. But
Emotionally, are you going to make it through?
yeah, yeah, I think I'll make it
I'm
through.
devastated. I'm devastated.
I'm kind of pissed. That's something I got to figure out, though, for sure. Like how to
Yeah, it'd be a great feature on here.
it. You know what's funny is before this, Spotify bought this app out, and
Okay.
before they bought it out, it had a video option. Like it said like just audio, or it said video call, kind of like WhatsApp, or like FaceTiming. So
Okay.
it had the option. It's like Spotify bought it out, and they kind of redid a few things, and now it's not in there.
Weird.
Yeah, man, I know. But
I don't like it one bit.
maybe that just means rain check. I'll have to figure that out and get you back
Yeah, podcast too. Live FaceTime.
live with the one and only Jake Cox,
Mm-hmm.
Knoxbox. So what's up, man?
Mm-hmm.
How's Nam?
It's great. Yeah, love it here. Not in a hurry to leave. It's been wonderful for myself, my family, and my wife. We love the people, love the culture, and it's just a great place to be. And we think for right now, again, I have a 4-year-old and I have a 1.5-year-old. It's a great place to raise kids, at least for us right now.
It looks beautiful, man.
So,
Like the pictures you send me look. You got a lot of happy people over there.
yeah,
Everyone in
yeah,
general happy.
yeah. In general, I mean, at least that's what I see, right? Like, because you kind of like you're at where you're at, and you tend to surround yourself with a certain person, anyways, right? Like, no matter wherever you're at in the world, and I'm generally a happy person, so it's kind of what I attract and what's around me. But like when you talk about the photos, like we've been to Halong Bay, Sapa, Hue, Da Nang, uh, Hoi An, Hanoi, the Mekong, Phuket, and we have some other adventures outside like Bali, Phuket, Thailand, as well as like Angkor Wat, Cambodia, and in Siem Reap, and we have some more coming up. And that's what's been wonderful about being on this side of the world is the ability to explore over here, which is just gorgeous, right?
Oh yeah. You said Phuket. That's the right way
Yeah.
to say it.
Hmm.
I
I don't
always
know.
I always thought it was fuck it.
That could be there's a few like that here. There's a few where you're like, I can't pronounce that in English.
I'm kind of even more heartbroken now that I thought there's a place called Fuck It in the planet. Now it's called Phuket.
Who knows? There still might be a place called that. You never know. But
You know what's
Phuket.
funny, dude? Like there's one time I was at a bar around here, and this guy was hammered, and he was the type of guy that like by the end of the night he's trying to start shit with people, and he was sitting next to me at the bar, and he kept looking over at me, and he's like, "You know where I'm from?" And I'm like, "No, not at all, bro." And he's like, "I'm from Hell's Kitchen." And then he'd go on with his like spiel about how much of a hard ass he is.
Hell's
And
Kitchen.
I didn't know Hell's Kitchen was a real place, so I just kept saying like I just thought he was trying to sound tough. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm from Hell's Kitchen, like home brewed. Like I thought that was part of his like WWE trying to start a fight spiel or something. And turns out there's really a fucking Hell's Kitchen. I don't
Dude
remember if
was,
it's Pennsylvania or New York, but there's really a Hell's Kitchen.
yeah, he was trying to cut a promo on you. I mean, Hell's Kitchen sounds better than like, no knock on it, but Hershey's, Pennsylvania. You're just kind of like, oh, the land of chocolate and happiness. You don't sound so tough if you're at a bar at 2 in the morning and you're like, you know where I'm from? I'm from Hershey, PA, brother. Born and bred. It's like Hulk
This
Hogan couldn't even make that sound tough, right?
the South Side of
Yeah,
Hershey's,
yeah,
Pennsylvania.
yeah. Where we just have Twix and we don't have M&M's, son.
I'm from Left Twix, baby.
That's right. Let them know what's up. Crunchy side.
Crunchy side, yeah, man. Did you end up getting your shorts or getting shorts ordered?
No. So because like the size you had, because like Amazon thinks I'm a 34 in them, and I'm like, what is this, my waist size or is it not? And so because that's the tough part. Like we forward things from, and we do very few things, but it's weird. Like so, even like headgear, if you wanted, I mean, it's not sold here because there is no wrestling, but it's made here. It goes on a ship over there, and you order it, and then we forward it through a lady in Oregon, and it gets over here to us eventually. But there's a cost to that, the shipping, and then there's a cost like, what if I don't like it and it doesn't work for me? So that's why the sizing's kind of annoying. So
do you have to pay extra for that like middleman?
yeah, absolutely. It's $13 a kilo. So it's not cheap at all. So it's not like you're gonna ship like a weight set over here.
I've done that with shoes before because and for the people listening and for you, you already know, but the shoes that I buy and sometimes I flip them.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a drop and it's like only in Europe, or like a drop that's
Mm-hmm.
only in like, China or Japan. And there's been a few times where I've had to set up a service that you mail, if you hit on the shoes, you have to pay someone like, sometimes like $40, and it will mail it to that service, and then that service then mails it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up
Mm-hmm.
with a really more exclusive shoe that's worth a lot more in the US because they didn't drop over here. But at the same time, like, there's a little bit of risk, and you don't usually know who's like intercepting in the middle either. But
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And it's well, and then the thing is, you're gonna flip those shoes. But for me, like, so say you tried on something size wise and it doesn't fit, it's like, okay, well, I can't return this, so it's a little different, right?
you got to trade it for back rubs in the gym.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, shit. There's a few
Don't-
people around here my size, though, man.
You're not the kind of guy who takes many losses, so I'm sure you'll figure it out. Some sort of barroom
Oh,
skills.
mm,
Well, I appreciate you hopping on, dude, and I appreciate you being patient. My old clinger buddy had me running behind, and he just had such a cute face. I couldn't say no to him.
yeah. It seems he trimmed up his beard since he got a black belt. A smart man.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. You know that like that he's in the honeymoon phase of his black belt, I think.
Ah, I mean, I don't know anything about that, coach, but yeah, I
that's
assume
what
it's real.
that's what I'm calling it. It's got to be like that. He's still got to have that like new euphoria chilling,
I mean, you got to think that's only going to last for the rest of his life. So,
Yeah, yeah. He made it, dude. He made it. Um,
that's
well,
awesome, though.
enough about me, man. Let's talk about you. Ex
Ooh.
football coach. Someone who's really made a difference in my life. And I'm glad you
Hey,
stick
thank
around
you.
and continually help me. All I had to do was show you a couple bourbons, and you.
Right? We were buddies.
I guess you
Yeah.
decided it was worth it.
It's like, well, you hit. I mean, I only actually like, I say this with my wife, there's only actually a few topics I care to engage with people on. And usually they're like bourbon, human performance training, whether that's like blood work or speed agility or anything like that, or cosmetic development. And then there's money, love money, trucks, and world travel. So there's like a few topics that I actually care to engage in, cigars, and heck, you had bourbon. So you had really good bourbon taste. So that's a great start. And I do enjoy jujitsu. So
I still got a huge ass collection sitting here too for when you come back, because haven't really been drinking.
let's go.
Yeah, dude. So get your ass back over here.
Yeah, most like I find that a lot of guys get to a point they have a good collection, and then it's really for occasions, or the occasional like Friday night nightcap kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man, and this is partially due to your fault, but like, and partially my fault, and partially the smart thing to do. But I'm finally like on a routine for like once in my life. That is one good thing about having this like corporate job thing,
Yeah,
and being on a routine. It's just like hard for me to drink anymore and wake up and
good.
think it was worth it,
Yeah,
And
it's not.
And now I'm like, I haven't drank in so long that like I'd have to build a tolerance again. And I
Hmm.
just don't feel like going through that pain and that, like, just going through that right now just to be able to
We
drink.
got to look at it even better. I mean, the best part is you don't have a tolerance, so it's like one or two nice drinks of higher end bourbon, and it's been a great night. You don't need to have six.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is like one, you just started saving more money because you're not drinking as frequently. Two, you're saving more money in the future. And three, you're drinking better quality stuff. So it's less, in my opinion, traumatic on your system as opposed to drinking like. So one thing that's over here plentiful is like Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, but it's because the world thinks that's like our Pepsi and Coke in America,
Oh
and it's
yeah, you
not.
told me that.
Like anybody I know never actually drinks Jim or Jack. It's like that's like some college age Jack and Coke stuff. Like I don't know.
That well shit.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like ugh, it's just your gut just rots thinking about it,
Oh,
you
dude,
know. But
Jim
if
Beam.
but if you're like, hey, pour me a glass of Blanton's, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna feel great tomorrow. You know, have no allergic reaction to it. It's a win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like your gut's not rotting from the inside. You're
Hmm.
processing it and you're still happy the next day. That's for damn
Well,
sure.
tell me about like your routines and stuff. So that seems to have been an impact for you. Like, what are you taking away from that? What are you exploring
Yeah,
and
man.
learning?
So, yeah, to talk about that, so I've got like a morning routine now. I've never been a morning person at all. I was always the guy that like if I got up at 10, it's because I made myself. And partially because I'm a night owl, and partially because I have sleeping problems. But my morning routine now that I'm more on a routine, it's like I'm more apt to wake up. One of the first things I do is drink water. The sun's not quite up yet, so like I make sure to drink at least a bottle of water. Lately, I've
What
been
time are
adding.
you up?
Right now I'm up around like 6,
Okay, nice.
and yeah, and I've been like adding like a little bit of salt to my water in the morning, just for like a little bit extra
Hmm.
sodium. And I got on the cold shower kick for a little bit, and I got rid of it because, to be
Hmm.
honest, I ran it for like 2 months. I didn't really feel much of a kick, and a few people have told me that it our water doesn't get cold enough here to really do too much.
Mm, that makes sense.
So I like kind of a warm shower because I feel like I wake up tight, so I feel like that kind of loosens me up and makes me feel like moving a little bit more.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
the other thing is like I've been meal prepping, so like it saves me time. Like I'll make baked oatmeal, so my morning like so
So
basically
smart.
compared to my old life, where I was always going by the whim and flying through Starbucks or flying through fast food in the morning for my food. Like now I'm making like 5 days worth of breakfast, usually on Sundays, and
Hmm.
then usually I make like 5 days worth of lunch, so I don't have to worry about leaving the office or getting lunch. Or I can go
Yeah,
train on my lunch break, and when I get back to the office, I have food there already.
yeah.
So instead of spending the time and money to go get food on my break, I have time to train now, which that's been great. And then but in between the time that I'm off in the office and I go clean the boats at night, I'm usually lifting a little bit, trying to do some posture workouts and a little bit of strength training. And
Hmm.
so I'm trying to get a little bit of jits and a little bit of lifting in and a cleaner eating routine. I've kicked a lot of coffee out of my system because I like to stay hydrated, and that I fall behind in dehydration really quickly. It
And
seems like.
and how is after 2 months of that? How's that working for you compared to you 10 months ago? Like, what do you feel? What do you think mentally, physically, financially? Like, what's going on for you? Like, how's it working for you so far?
Mentally, it's tough because I really am having a hard time with like the sitting in a dark corner in an office. Um,
I meant
but
more the routine,
the
more the
routine,
actual like other things you've done, the meal prep, the waking up early, like the shower, then doing some strength training, making sure jiu-jitsu gets done, things like that, and then working the extra hack, like
I'm, I'm starting to
financial
feel
hack,
I'm starting to
side
feel like a
hustle.
lot more energy in my day. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm starting to be able to like get through like my whole day with all that I've said, like all the activity I've said, um, working out, training, the second job, coming home, and like, getting home and getting everything ready for the next day, I'm like, I used to get really tired midday, and like, so I think my energy level has started to show a lot of benefits. And I think
Yeah.
as far as eating cleaner, I've been feeling a lot better. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where my interest has been lately is figuring out like how much carbs do I want to eat, how much protein do I want to eat, what foods make me feel good, and what foods like do I need to add to kind of have
Yeah.
like a complete diet. So overall, I think everything has been better.
Yeah.
Financially is nice too because with doing all the
Yeah.
habits, they kind of feed each other. I don't know if that's considered habit stacking, but
Yeah.
like
Not
since I'm
paying
not
Starbucks so much.
yeah since I'm not like going to Starbucks every morning, I'm not spending $7 on breakfast and then $14 on lunch. Like I've already got it prepped and made for probably like $4 to $2 a meal.
Yeah.
So like financially, definitely better. Um, and physically, I feel better. And yeah, like I think overall, like the routine is great. That's one thing that's one good benefit of this lifestyle. That's for sure.
What but how's that work? So you work Monday through Friday, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so how's that go for you? Like, do you follow it? Do you wake up at 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday, Sunday? Like, or you like
No,
over the course of 4 weeks in a month, how's that go for you there? Like
so
those 8 days, you know?
at this point in time, Saturday and Sunday, I'm usually so beat that I do sleep
Yeah.
a little bit extra.
Do
So
you
I do
go to bed earlier or
no,
same time? Do you go to bed same time?
around the same time.
Okay.
It's not like during my normal routine, like during the week, I usually have like a set time in my head, like about 11 o'clock. I want to be in bed. I want to be
Yeah.
passed out by 11:30. Um,
Hmm.
but on the weekends, I'm more laid back. Like I do kind of break my habit. And actually, it was funny because on the way home, I was thinking about that today. How on the weekends, my diet and my habit kind of goes to shit. but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, to answer your question, like I let myself sleep a little bit extra because in my head, I'm telling myself it's a little bit extra recovery from
Right.
training and
If
lifting all
if
week.
you go to bed at the same time, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. Yeah, that's true.
What one way I would just look is like, okay, so let's say you get 3 months of this adult routine. We'll just label it that way. And you get there and you're like, wow, I have less sleep issues. Then one thing I would just say, like a low hanging fruit to compound this even more is okay, the first weekend of every month, I stay on my adult routine. So I go to bed at 11, I wake up at 6 or 6:30, there's my extra sleep on a Saturday, Sunday. So what you're doing is because it's eight nights or 8 days that are like your friction to achieving like a consistent repetitive gain. So essentially, if your first weekend, if you had 5 days and then you went your 2 days, and then you had a whole nother 5 days before you kind of stayed up later and slept in and maybe ate a little crappier. If at least one Saturday and Sunday you just went through it, I mean, think about 5 2 5. You're at 12 days in a row instead of 5 days in a row. So that magnetizes, that compounds off of, that feeds off of what you've been doing, and then your habits get a little easier. So like a low hanging fruit would just be like, hey, first weekend of every month, I just wake up and go to bed at the same time. Like I know people want to go to Chili's or IHOP or whatever, and I know some people want to have like this, whatever, and that's cool. Like if there's an anniversary or like a birthday party, cool, you go do that and you just move it to the next weekend. But maybe just there's your low hanging fruit is just get one weekend a month right now for a few months where you just no, I'm just going to treat it like it's Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then so you're getting like let's see 5, 10. So you're getting more than double the production, and
Essentially.
and you're building the habit a lot easier.
Yeah, because when people say they have like sleep issues and stuff, don't get me wrong, there's actual real cases for that, but most likely they don't have like pre-bed and post-bed routines, and they don't have good sleep hygiene, and they're wishy-washy about their actual schedule. Like they don't have a go to bed alarm set. They go to bed when they feel it, and guess what? Most people's feelings suck. So maybe just get a little more disciplined with when I go to bed, I have some warm tea. I take a warm shower. When I wake up, I do, some child's pose breathing, and I just walk outside in sunlight. I bounce a ball, whatever the hell your routine is, or what. Everybody's got different stuff, but find what works. Find like low friction, low hanging fruit things, and then just start whittling it away. So cool, I got a Monday. Great. Get a Monday, Tuesday. Cool. Get a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So now you get this 5 days a week of the adult work week done. And it's like, wow, still kind of acting like I'm 22 here on Saturday, Sunday. Nothing wrong with that because family had a cookout, and then we're all going to watch the Sunday night football game and stay up late. Well, it's like, okay, well, is that working for me every Sunday from September through December to watch every Sunday night football game? Well, how about one Sunday out of each month? I actually just do my normal Tuesday, Wednesday routine, and I'm better off for it, as far as your sleep and uh, pre post sleep routines.
That's great. Yeah, that's why I like you, dude, because you like so methodical about everything. And
I appreciate it. Yeah.
to dig into your background a little bit, because I remember you talked about it a long time ago in the gym. So
You know,
you were coaching for Baylor, right?
yeah. Going in reverse order, I've coached at Baylor, Villanova, Temple, Colorado, Akron, Stephen F. Austin State University, and I've had some internships along the way. So I strung together about 13, 14 years of coaching strength and conditioning for collegiate football and a variety of other sports like volleyball, tennis, cross country, track and field, basketball, and that was awesome. So that's kind of my background, and I played at the
Human
University of
performance.
Kansas. Yeah, strength and conditioning, nutrition, director of sports nutrition at Colorado. Um, and head strength coach, been an assistant strength coach and associate director of strength conditioning. So plenty of internship hours and so kind of like each spot along that ladder there at a
Did,
variety of different levels.
did you have these kind of habits before you started coaching?
Mm, well, the occupation kind of demands them, right? A little bit.
Right.
So like sometimes you're just in a place where you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and you have to train 4:30 to 5:45 because you have groups from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Or you've got groups from 6 a.m. to noon, but then when you think you're going to lift on your lunch hour, you're not because all of a sudden there's a diversity and inclusion meeting for HR, or the football coach needs to go over everybody's GPA. And for some reason, you're expected to be a contributing member to Billy's GPA in ethics or physics. So there's a lot of meetings that pop up or things you have to do: order equipment, hire interns, train your interns, clean your equipment. There's a lot of extra that goes along with it. So in some situations, you're better off just getting in your own self-care. So your strength, your conditioning, your mobility, um, just getting it done. And so, well, if you're starting work at 6 a.m., that means getting it done is 4:30 to 5:45 in the morning. Um, so,
And
because
I imagine you have to set an example, right? Like you have to be like, you can't be
nobody wants.
coaching these large human beings but be slacking yourself.
Well, and it's like perception is reality. And so people forget this all the time. Like people are going to profile you and you can have like some weird moral stance of, oh, that's not right. But in reality, it happens. So you're going to judge people on the first 5 seconds you see them. And then you might communicate with them. And if they have good communication skills, that might extend into getting to actually know them. And so in those three layers, if I'm going to somebody for jujitsu training, it's not going to be a one stripe white belt who's fat, out of shape, and looks awful, right? That I can run through in 1 second. So it's the same. It applies to strength conditioning. I don't want to go learn squatting from somebody that's never squatted double their body weight. That would be a poor understanding of what it takes to actually get good at this skill. And so, yeah, it matters. So be an example. So same thing. I think for the whole time I did it, I always prepped my food. Like, why am I going to harass you about eating, fast food, or, you're there getting your frappe, whatever, and then you're tacking on some weird sugary cupcake thing at Starbucks. And it's like, well, am I going to do that? Like, no, that's being a hypocrite. So,
Do you think that
you
kind of
know,
motivates you? Like, does the motivation of not being a hypocrite kind of help fuel you to be like, uh,
hmm,
like a man, not only a man of your word, but like fuel you to like keep your composure and keep your direction and your demeanor?
I think
Or are
initially it was more of like just being aware of it, right? So like let's say, you're 25, 22, and again, these are all things I wish I'd have done sooner, and it's not to say I'm perfect at any of these things and I can always do better, which I'm always trying to reduce friction and increase better results on all these things, right? So we're
right?
all a work in progress. We're all green and growing. We're not red and rotting. And so what I would say is I'm initially it was like just being aware of these things. It wasn't like it was a motivator. I've always been intrinsically motivated, right? Like I've always kind of known and had ambition for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. We only get one go around in life. It might as well be on your terms. And so I think though what happened is over days, weeks, months, years, it's all compounding to make you more and more of who you are. Like, I'm going to get it wrong, but Aristotle, excellence is not an act, it is a habit, and essentially we're all slaves to our habits, and so when you make things more habitual over time and they just tended to be better, good things, I think we all have initially a similar amount of discipline and perseverance. And I think when you just actually think analytical about it, it's like, well, how do I reduce the need to be disciplined on this subject? And what do you mean? Well, if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. Okay, well, the gym's 35 minutes away. Okay, well, it's cold. I live in North Dakota, or it's cold. I live in Winnipeg, Canada, and I've got to get in my truck. I've got to scrape off the ice from the windshield, and I've got to heat up my truck, and then I've got to drive 35 minutes to the gym. And then, I've had to pack my clothes, my towel, or, the gi or whatever I'm training in. Then I have to train. Then I have to do all that in reverse. And when am I showering? And so it's like, well, maybe you're better off getting a set of adjustable dumbbells, an adjustable bench, and cleaning out a closet that's connected to a spacious room and getting your workouts in at home. Maybe you're better off setting your workout clothes right next to your bed. And if you're really bad and lazy, wear them to bed so that you can reduce the friction of making a decision in the morning. Don't have decision fatigue, then therefore you don't need discipline. So reduce your decisions. Like, so it's not a decision to work out in the morning. It's not a decision, at all of what to wear. Stop making those decisions that are just time consuming and reducing your actual willpower, and discipline. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're just more disciplined or need to be more disciplined.
Dude, that is such a real thing, the decision fatigue. And
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like that's like an unsaid truth, but it really is true. Like people will deter, like look at people nowadays with social media or like marketing. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
like, because I studied a little bit into like how, owning a website, because I've had websites and stuff where people
Yeah.
purchase, and you have to make the process of just, you basically have to design your product, your brand, whatever it's, a blog or a actual product or a item.
Mm-hmm.
You have to design it almost so that people can impulsively buy it easily.
Yeah, it's gamified. Look at
Yeah,
Robinhood. Like, look at any of those apps. It's like, look at one click Amazon.
yeah,
Like don't
exactly.
reduce friction. It was one click. There was only 3 clicks before that. You had to
Because
ensure which credit card you were paying with. You had to ensure it was going to the right shipping address and you weren't sending it to your mom for her birthday. Like you had to, and it was like literally 3 clicks before on Amazon. Now they go one click.
yeah, and
Like really?
because
But yeah, you're right.
that's a part of that decision fatigue. Like you said, I haven't really heard that term, but I feel like I know exactly what it is, because like, if you add, like you said, the one step of like even like when you're on a website, they have like these widgets you can add. So when
Mm-hmm.
like you scroll down to look at the product, the add to cart button stays on your screen. What if the product leaves your screen, you're looking at the description. You can still add it to your cart or do a one click buy now checkout.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the big wigs do that in marketing for a reason, because they also understand that like You know, like you said, you wake up and you're like, well, it's kind of cold today. Well, I got to prime the truck. These are all like deterrents. These are all kind of like
Yeah.
almost like yourself telling yourself, similar to talking to
Well,
people about tournaments in jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't know if you listened to the one with Sal, but Sal was talking about how much energy it took just to figure out like where to go, what mat to go on, what time he was going, watch the TV to figure out who he's going against and where he needed to be at what time. And then by the time you get to the mat, you've made so many decisions and paid attention to so much stuff that you're actually worn out before you actually get to what you're trying
yeah,
to do. So
exactly. That's why at
reducing,
a meet or a competition, having a coach, or like in powerlifting or Olympic lifting, having a coach or a handler to
damn,
assist with certain things makes so much sense.
I was just about
That's
to
why,
ask you how you would
well,
think
it's like
about
you
how,
get a
yeah,
battle buddy, you know, in the military, you call it a battle buddy. And it's kind of a funny little name, but it's somebody, it's like an accountability partner and stuff like that. But it's, you know, somebody that's aligned somewhat on your goals and their goals, and you guys can feed off each other and hold each other accountable. Like it's culture, right? So like when there's a good culture in the gym, you're more likely to go to the gym more frequently. And I used North Dakota and Winnipeg, Canada as examples in that little story there, but there's no wonder people are healthier in Boulder, Colorado, Tampa, Florida, Houston, Texas, or whatever, you know, general speaking, than compared to Minneapolis, Minnesota, or
yeah,
whatever. Like the weather, at least for those 6 months, like if we're rating June to June in America, it's probably a wash. But if we're rating January to January in Maine versus Arizona, I mean, the people in Arizona are going to be healthier in January because they're out, there's less friction to get out and sweat or walk. I mean,
yeah. That's why everyone comes down to Florida during
yeah,
the winter months.
I
It's
know.
just much easier to walk outside and start the car and yeah, go.
Yeah, nothing. Or you just walk. What am I going to do in Florida? I'll just walk on these awesome sidewalks or this awesome beach. Like, it's good infrastructure for those things too.
What's it like coaching these large human beings? And like you've described to me before, like you almost had like statistics down. Like you knew every single year, like this amount of kids is going to drop out, this many kids are going to get arrested, this many kids are actually going to have
Mm.
talent. Like what's it like just dealing with that, you know, that
Well,
environment?
yeah, I guess what I was saying there too was like, so say each recruiting class, and this is before kind of like, and I've been out of it 3 years now, so I haven't had the experience with all these transfers and with NIL, where they can now pay the players basically like, so they're transferring more and they're making more money and stuff like that. Where in the past it was kind of like routine, right? So like you might have two kids transfer in January, that's whatever. And then but you might have a recruiting class every June come in, and that recruiting class might be 25 to 32 kids, right?
Right.
And so that's the same. Seniors go out, new kids come in, blah blah blah. And what you just know is, okay, out of 25, like there's going to be one or two walk-ons that were overlooked somewhere, and they're late bloomers and they're going to outwork everybody, and they're going to get scholarships within 2 years, and they're going to be productive members. One of them's going to get a shot at the NFL. And he was like from nowhere, nothing, middle of the world, Pennsylvania, you know? And then at the same token, there's, you know, say there's 3, 5, or 4-star recruits that are coming on campus. Well, one of them's going to go to the NFL. Two of them are going to, you know, the one going to the NFL is going to do good, and so is one other one. Well, one's not going to pan out at all, and he's going to be, you know, and good, bad, or indifferent is never really going to play, right? Like, or he's
Mm-hmm.
going to, you know, it's just for certain reasons. And some are going to come to you as 18-year-olds, and they're already going to have kids. You know, some of them are going to come to you and you can just like project. It's like, wow, by age 40, where are you going to be in life? It's just a good question to think of when you think of all of them. And it's interesting with all the different backgrounds, socioeconomic, ethnic, whatever, and regional too, where they're from, and then homes. It's interesting. It's not playing like a sociology game with it. It's just this understanding of like, hey, there is a specific breakdown that falls along this. And I would relate that to Pareto's principle of 80-20. So essentially 20% of all the doers produce 80% of all the production, right?
When
And
you
so you tend to see 80% of the people in a society 20% of the people in a society hold on to over 80% of the wealth. And so even if you did redistribution of economic means, it wouldn't take long at all. So if everybody started off at equal money, you're still going to see the top 20% rise, and that always happens. It's never not happened. And to think differently is just ignorant and just bad. So
Yeah.
so you see that with athletics too, and some of them, they get girlfriends and they get hearts broken and blah blah blah, and some of them are going to be Rhodes scholars, and some are going to flunk out, and some are going to go into grad school and be doctors. Some of them are, it's all different, man. It's pretty cool to watch over like 5+ years, see all that happen.
So, okay. Now I'm wondering, now I'm thinking about it. Cause I mean, I've trained with you with jiu-jitsu. I've
Mm-hmm.
lifted weights in your garage when, Tana was in town.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, and for the people listening, that's, someone you coached in college, right?
Yeah.
Now plays for the Saints. Cool dude. Huge ass
Mm-hmm.
human being. Um, I wonder. So, did you have to differentiate and deal with like emotional behavior, or were you kind of like no nonsense, like I'm not dealing with that shit. Get your shit together and come back. Like, how did you handle like the emotionally unstable or like the prima
You know,
donna ego?
I think when I was developing interns, I always coached that they needed to have um, three things. Number one was a great attitude. Number two was a great effort. Uh, and number three was a coach's voice.
So
And
you kind of
so
filtered them.
coach,
Like you kind of filtered before you got.
yeah.
Okay.
So like as a coach, as you're developing a coach, one thing I learned was it's important to be able to command the entire team, especially when there's thousands of people watching, or the whole football staff or administrators watching, or their parents watching. Can you run a whole warm up or training session with 100 people? So do you have a 60-yard voice? Can your voice boom? Can it pop? Can it captivate? And then the next is, do you have a 6-foot voice? So like, and they're not far away, but you got a small group at a training rack, or you're doing a speed drill or something like that. Can you connect with them that way? And then do you have a 6-inch voice? Meaning, can you connect? Like, can you get almost, ear to ear with this person and connect? Can you get close to them? And all three of those are different voices. They're different tones. And then what I think is you bring in, due to your facial expression and the tone in your voice, you kind of bring in this seriousness and lightheartedness. And I think you have to be a master of kind of like understanding how to captivate that individual, and just simply go with this. Where is this individual? What do I know about this individual? And what's my path of least resistance to getting a hold of this individual's attention and buying into what I'm selling? And so, like, we all have bad days. There's nothing wrong with a bad day. There is something wrong with being disrespectful and not responsible. And as long as your standards are clearly expressed to your individuals and your team, then I think if they're aware of what those standards are, they know they're below standard of that day, and that's okay. Just go meet them where they're at. Use that 6-inch voice. Use a different tone, different facial expression. Be disarming, and just let them know, hey, this might not be for you today. There's nothing wrong with you taking a day off or coming back later to get your training in, or just understanding like, hey, let's tell a few teammates so they can rally around you and help pick you up, instead of like instantly everybody feeding off that and putting somebody down negatively. So that's what I would say is like, honestly, and there's less of that when people know the standards of life and standards of the team. There's less of like people understand they need to show up, right? One of the biggest things with getting better is showing up, giving good effort, and having a good attitude consistently over a long duration of time. And I think when you explain those things along with your standards, when they do show up for a team activity or a training session, like, they're just gonna want to suck less at life, and they're gonna try to be more productive and more receptive of what their coaching and or teammates are responding interactions are. And so I dealt with, sure, special moments is what I like to term them, but they're few and far between, because I think you do a good job of front loading the education and getting to know people, know their backgrounds, know what their ticks are, and also know like some of the people in their lives to be like, hey man, do we got to call uncle? Do we got to, hey, your brother graduated here 3 years ago. Like, I'm really good with him. Like, do we need to talk? Something like that. Like, and instantly that lets them know, like, yeah, I mean, he's going to figure this out, eventually. So let's just work through this now. Like, let's reduce time. Let's go faster. Let's fail forward faster. Um, let's just get it done.
Fail
Does that
forward
make
faster.
sense?
Oh yeah, fail forward
Yeah.
faster. That's a new term I've been using, man. It's kind of funny you said that because
This is
it's the truth.
second thing I taught people. Second thing I taught people. First thing was show up, fire up. And the second thing was fail forward faster. So show up, fire up is just, again, it's that having that positive attitude and show up consistently over a long duration of time. Show up 10 minutes earlier, stay 10 minutes later. And then fail forward faster is one thing I've learned in any skill I've ever done, especially studying or whatever, is, your success rate is usually dependent upon your actionable plan and action taking steps. And it's just reality that maybe 80% of the time you're going to fail in the actions you take. So just fail forward faster. Like, if you know you're going to fail at this speech, go get 8 speeches done before you do this one, and it's going to be better, right? Like, just if you have to call, you're in sales and you know your hit rate is 1 out of every 10. Well, don't just agonize over picking up the phone 10 times in a day. Pick up the phone 100 times in a day, you know, like, come away with more wins.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that Bedros guy, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like his pep talk is saying like start your day with a win and start stacking wins throughout your day. So basically, like he's like a don't hit the snooze button. That's your first win. Get out of bed. Like get your what he likes to do is like he likes to do the water thing, shower, and then he sits down. And he has his important fucking shit list or whatever he calls it,
Yeah.
and that's his next win. So it's basically like doing tough shit, but stacking wins. And throughout the day, you're
So,
just stacking win after win after win.
well, just in what you said, two things come to mind. One is don't hit the snooze alarm. Like, that's bad. One, I would just cheat. So I would set my phone across the room. Just cheat. Like, you're gonna be out of bed already by the time you go hit that snooze. You might as well just stay up. So just cheat. Like, why even
Yeah.
give yourself the opportunity to even reach over and just, oh, snooze. Oh, snooze. Why even give yourself the opportunity to be a loser?
So do
Just go
you?
sit it across the room. And then the next thing is your important shit list. Let's just read Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It's just rank order A, B, C, and D priorities. 4 quadrant them. You want to focus on quadrant 2, upper right hand corner. What's important now? What's like a critical mover? Like, what's important timelines and what's important as far as progress. And the things that are not important as far as time, but they are critical as far as importance, they're still like a B priority. And the things that are important as time but not importance, maybe you can just delegate those. And the things that are not important time and not important as far as like importance, you just get rid of that crap, you know like, just, it's crap. So
I'm
yeah, eat the biggest nastiest frog first.
I'm practicing that now. Like with stuff I have in my house, like shirts, shoes, clothes, like just random knickknacks. It's like I don't do anything with this, but it's like
mm,
so hard to emotionally throw it away. You feel like
mm.
you tell yourself you're like you owe it
Can
something.
I give you 2 examples? Go squat. Learn to squat like Mark Rippetoe. Put a bar on your back, starting strength, squat. 3 sets 5. Just learn to squat. You can learn leg extension. You can learn walking lunge. You can learn, tibia raises. You can learn Cossack squats later, and they can all make up like a cute warm up or a cute like assistance circuit later. But the thing is, your biggest, nastiest frog, your most important mover, is just to get squatting done every 5th day. In jujitsu, is it the warm up? Is it the teaching? Is it the questions at the end? Is it the live rolling? It's most likely, honestly, the actual position drilling, the live position drilling. It's these little concentrated efforts to whether, okay, can I get out a back take? And we're drilling this for 30 minutes. Like we're going live and we're switching back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And it's this concentrated, specific zone, but with this relentless effort and intensities, as opposed to, where you're going with other people in the live stuff that might be tougher to coach. For one, a coach or your teammates, and two, it's like, well, I know what his game is. Eventually your game comes out in your specific live rolling, but in your positional drill, well, no, it's we're working Ashis and short X's, and like we're here in this concentrated effort, and I've got to watch him from taking a, slipping my foot off here and doing a toe hold or a heel hook, right? Like a standing. And so it's this concentrated focus, as opposed to we're both out of our game because we're in this concentrated focus and it is live. So,
Right.
You could be like, let me do a machine circuit at Planet Fitness. Or no, you could get a rack, a barbell, and some plates and a logbook and learn to squat good. And every fifth day, do a little bit more for sets of 5 and get the results you want faster.
Do you give credit to all this knowledge from all your books?
Yeah, my life's always gotten better the more books I consumed. I wish I'd have started reading and reading better books sooner. I would absolutely, it's easily one of the things I tell people. I would say it's the books I consumed and then the people I've been around with. And I've treated life like a study. And I've always assumed, well, if you have this person's rich, what do they do? How do they walk? What do they say? How do they dress? Why are they rich? How do they get there? Oh, you have a 40-year marriage and you guys still look really happy. What'd you do? How'd you treat raising parents or kids? What was your personal finances? When did you go on vacations? How did you plan for these things? What was any strategies, intimacy or romance that kept things positive? And you start like finding these crucible things, and you're like, oh, well, these things that keep reoccurring themes in health, human performance, marriage, finances, well, these themes keep popping up. I can go get books on those. I
What
can
would you,
learn about those.
what have you learned is the biggest thing for human performance?
Ooh,
Like
ooh.
habits, or like, because I know how you're thinking, and because I do it too, and that's kind of like a little bit of what I like about this podcast, because that's like what I like to see is like what people are good at, what they've been successful at, and like what and how they got there and operate.
I'd say, yeah, I would say habits. I would say it's your behaviors and your beliefs. Like really, like, you know, uh, if somebody were to ask me like, hey, what kind of exercise is the best for you? Well, I used to lie to people. I used to be like, yeah, it's whatever makes you feel good and whatever you do daily. But
Asshole.
it's 2023, and it was the feel good. It made people feel good about she really loves Pilates. He really loves distance running. That's great if you're gonna compete at those, like at jujitsu. Oh, I'm all jujitsu. I love jujitsu. That's awesome. And if you're competitive, good for you. Thumbs up. But like if you're talking about like living a better functioning life from age 10 to 90, it's 2023. It's clear. It's compound lifts, externally loaded body movements done with multiple joints with great biomechanically efficient technique, progressively progressed. You could say overloaded, but even that runs out. Like even if you added a pound to a lift every week, that's 52 pounds a year. That's, you like quickly you're bench pressing 1,000,000 pounds, right? So
Right.
that's not happening. So, and it's like that's number one, but number two is the things that people will go do. And so if they're a hiker, and again, these are most just active lifestyles, they're actually not exercising, but if they gravitate more towards cycling or whatever, then yeah. But it is the fact that maybe every fourth day you should do a total body, whether it's dumbbells, barbells, but like structurally progressed, creating muscular tension, bone on bone, pull, tendons, ligaments, everything's getting stronger. You don't have to be a world champ. You're not trying to be competitive at bodybuilding, strongman, Olympic lifting, or powerlifting. You're just trying to make progress to be a better functioning human. And that is the way. That's not even debatable, right? And so, you know,
Oh, I'm starting the debate
uh,
right now, dude.
yeah, debate it.
I think
Give
I
it to
think
me.
I think the plant base. Get yourself a little
Mm,
plant base.
yeah.
Um, and and sit
Hmm.
at home on the internet and tell people how you feel. I think that's the way
On and just go to Bikram yoga right there. That'll do it. And I laugh because there's nothing wrong with having, like, if you treat it all, like, so if you have 8 hours a week to do training and you don't love lifting, well, just do it for less than 2 hours. With a means of, like, maybe you're doing some mobility and prep, and then maybe you have 2 or 3 30-minute sessions. That's it. Now, if the rest of that time you want to cycle, you want to hike, you call hiking exercise, which it have to be pretty extreme to get that qualification there. Or if you like Pilates, or if you like swimming and stuff, then fill it more with that time. Now, if you like gung ho lifting, I would actually tell you, yeah, maybe don't do 8 hours of this. Like, it's at a point you don't need that. So it is better for your body to be more in line towards moderation in each of these disciplines, but just actually know what is best. Okay.
right. It's a sorry, I forgot where I was going with that.
Mm,
I just threw my own self off. Happens all the time.
I like that about you.
Yeah, right.
Crazy, man.
I always
Crazy.
bounce back though, right? I always bounce back. No, so I guess like what another thing I was wondering about is because most people are emotionally driven, like how you said, like hitting the snooze button and oh, it feels good, like emotions. You know what I mean? How how do you think that someone beats that? I know it's probably different for everybody, but how do you show somebody that
Well,
getting through that mental barrier or that discipline, or what'd you call it
just
earlier?
tell, but Kevin, your emotions are not a strategy for achieving a life well lived.
Right, but most people don't understand that.
Yeah, but that's the first step is sit Billy or Julie down and say, do you realize, like, it's cool to have emotions? Nobody wants you to be a robot. Nobody needs you to be chat GPT. Like, I just, you need to be a human. You need to have emotions, but what good is it being emotional about your food? Like, if you're a foodie and you live for rich experiences in cooking, then yeah, allocate some emotions to that. If you're not, if you just work at a cubicle or you're a construction worker on roofs, then and food is just more of a byproduct of life and needing to sustain it and just being functioning, then why would you ever care to have emotions with your food? And same with money and parenting. Like, just study the good strategies and reduce your amount of decision fatigue, reduce your amount of friction enjoying your own life with those things. So the first thing I would do is just draw awareness. I would need an example, but just ask people, like, so what are we talking about here? One, two, how's that working for you? And three, where do you actually want to go in 3 years, 10 years? And a lot of people haven't consciously thought about that. And so when you actually get them to answer maybe those three questions, it kind of gets a little easier, right? Like, I don't know. Like,
You would think.
yeah, I definitely think, because I
And
think most of the people you're referring to don't answer those three questions ever.
no,
Uh,
they don't. But
it's so if you answered those and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I want to be less fat and I want to be better looking and I want to be stronger and I want to have, I don't know, nicer shoulders and be more appealing to the opposite sex or whatever. And or I want to have better, guard retention and jujitsu or something like that. Or when they pass me on my left side, I'm awful, but and I'm on my right. Well, it's like, okay, well, one, do you actually need to achieve better performance this way?
I
Maybe they're just
I
awesome
ran
the
that
other way.
experiment.
Yeah, maybe
I
maybe
spent
they're awesome.
like 3 months training my opposite side, thinking that maybe I can expose people because if everyone trains on their like right side and I'm the guy who's good at doing it to the left side,
Yeah,
I might be able to have a less technical knee slice, but a higher chance of successfully hitting it because they're not used to defending it on that side.
right.
And that shit was hard as
Well,
fuck, bro. like
yeah. Well, and,
it,
and that's 3 months because you went back to white belt level. You were like a two-stripe white belt on those that way. I mean, you've already spent what, 8 years training jujitsu?
about 6 or 7.
Okay, so 6 years. Well, you just spent 3 months doing it the other way.
Right.
So I mean, you're gonna need to get to a blue belt level before even that feels familiar, you know?
That's a solid point. I want to play
Yeah.
devil's advocate a little bit on you too. Um,
Okay.
with what you were saying with explaining that like your emotions aren't going to logically get you to the points you want and emotional connection, one could argue that um I guess let me explain it like this. The more you are emotionally disciplining yourself to push through like your emotions to do stuff that you don't want to do for better outcomes, the more you are kind of becoming that robot, correct? Or do you just look at it as like you emotionally allocate
Whoa, whoa,
elsewhere?
whoa. Okay,
Does
okay.
that make
So
sense? Did I explain
okay,
that well?
hang on with me here, boss.
Okay.
The more and more, so to dispel that, it would be very much like I just said with reduced decision fatigue. Let's say you've got 10 good decision making abilities in you every day. Let's just put a number with it, okay?
Perfect.
Well, let's say each day you have 10 good feeling and emotional things you can feel emotionally or give a shit about. Do you really want to waste one of those on
The snooze button.
scrambled eggs or eggs over easy? Like, why do you have to have emotion about your eggs? Like, really, do you want to waste that like on your wardrobe? Like, even Steve Jobs didn't want to waste his emotions on his wardrobe. He probably wanted to spend it with his passionate new project or his kids. So, like, just take a basic approach to it and just you realize people that are emotional 24 hours and they've got 100 emotional things every day probably are very not productive members of society. Okay. In the
Right.
same instance, people that are non emotional are probably also not productive members of society in some stance as well. So you can't be a robot, blah, blah, blah. But just ask yourself, how are these emotions serving you? And then how are they serving the people in your house? And then how are they serving your neighbors and community? So if they're not useful, then just get rid of them.
Yeah. So you're just kind of doing a constant analysis.
Like, don't you want to be an emotional person at a funeral, at an anniversary celebration, or at a birthday party for your children? Or do you want to waste that on, like, oh, the coffee's not cold enough when I got my cold brew at Starbucks today? Like, really? Like, really?
That is the
Like,
type of
do you
person
just
I
want to
come
be
from.
living in this ball of emotions your whole life, you freaking weirdo snowflake? Like, really? Is that what you want to do? You do, like, don't you want to have emotions when you're seeing the Grand Canyon for the first time from a helicopter ride? Or do you
Did,
want to waste them on your magazine subscriptions?
did the Grand Canyon get you, dude? Because the Grand Canyon got
Loved it.
me. It
It
got
was
me when I saw
breathtaking.
it too, man. It literally was breathtaking. That's the way I described it.
Why do you think I want to? Why do you think I want to travel so much? Yeah.
To see other cool shit.
hmm Like the temples in Angkor Wat, or in Siem Reap, all the Angkor Wat temples, Halong Bay, all these things, man. It's just been amazing.
You got a favorite so
Yeah.
far?
So Yeah, so just like I don't know, becoming it's just like your habits and behaviors with your sleep routine. So you start adulting routines. Well, just like get better at finding the low hanging fruit to become a better functioning person that you like. If you had to actually think about there's a date, there's a dash, and there's another date. If you're looking at your
Hold up, you went blank. You there?
to also
Hey, you cut
I'm
out.
here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, am I here now?
Yeah, you
Okay.
said
Well, that
a
was my
date,
alarm.
a
Yeah, but so
dash.
you a date, a dash, and a date. So you're looking at your headstone. And so bottom line is it's like, okay, I'm looking at my headstone here. Well, how do I want to be remembered for myself? Like how do I want myself to remember myself? And how do I want people to remember me? And so think of it that way. And it's like, okay, so I'm sitting down, I'm 22, I'm 32, I'm 44, whatever. And it's like, well, how do I get to be that person that I see in myself in the future? And then you write your list. Well, how's that person over 40 to 80 years? How are they physically? How are they emotionally? How are they mentally? How are they as a family man? How are they financially? Whatever. and you start going, oh, okay, well, I see greater things for my 75-year-old self than I'm seeing for my 31-year-old self here. Okay, so what's the gap? So write down the things that are different between your older self and your newer self, and just look like, whoa, which one's your most important critical mass mover? Well, and then which ones are just easy to do right now, today? Which ones are going to take 6 months? Which ones are going to take 6 years to get to? So just go, just work.
How much
Oh,
time do you think you spend an analysis running analysis on like your life and what you need to do? Like what you're explaining right now, how much time do you think you spend on that exact thing?
I don't think it shuts off in a way, like when you're living life, like when you're present with your kids or when you're, on trips or something like that, daily life, or when you're working on specific tasks. I don't think besides those things it shuts off. But I mean, I'd say once a week I'm looking at a whiteboard or, I'm jotting down pen and paper on some things in at least one or two of those areas, right?
Right.
Um, it's not like it's poor investment in time to spend thinking about those things. I could scroll Instagram or I could delete that stupid app from my phone and I could pick up a pen and paper and think about, let's see, I'm going to die in 49 years. What do I want to do between now and then? Okay, cool. Got my list. How do I get there in 6 days, 6 months, 6 years? Let's go.
One step forward every day.
Yeah, I mean, and think about it too. If you don't know where you're going, so say you have these adult routines and habits now. Okay, well, if you don't map out what you want to achieve and where you want to go in 3 months, 3 years with these routines, you're more likely to fall off the wagon with these routines. But if you know where you want to go short term, intermediate, and long term, you're more likely to stay with it, persevere through hard times, and achieve your goals. And even if you don't achieve your goals, if you fall short but you get to like 80% of those goals, wow, those are awesome. You most likely were in the top 20% of the world as far as achievement in life, to your specific self.
Right. Speaking of the top 20% and circling back to what you're talking about earlier, 20% owning 80% of the wealth. How crazy is it that, as for people listening, my relationship with Jake is like a friend, but he's also really like a really good mentor to me.
Thanks,
I had
brother.
a lot of these
Same,
questions.
same.
I had a lot of these questions in my life growing, and I never got the answers. It's not that I wasn't. I had these goals and I was driven, but I didn't really ever have it explained to me, or I didn't really have the right information in front of me. And then I met you, and you're really good at breaking down and explaining, like, discipline, financial literacy, habits, how to form habits. I've never read books. Well, I've read a few books, but I was never a book reader. And now you got me reading books constantly. I've got a whole wish list of. I'm always looking forward to
Mhm.
the next book now, and
Yeah.
like you got me into books, and it really is a huge game changer. Like, not that it makes me feel like I'm superior, but it makes me feel like you read a book and you just get a certain satisfaction out of it, and like in your head you can always refer to it for whatever
You're
reason.
you're a better version of you.
Yeah,
And that's good. It's not that you're better than anybody, anything, anyone. It's just that you're a better version of you than you were yesterday.
yeah. And the first thing you kind of coached me on was financials, and
Hmm.
uh the first three steps, and basically by clearing all your stupid debt, having an emergency fund, and even having 6 months worth of rent or utilities or bills saved away,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
already in the top. How much percent did you say? Like, are you in the top
Well,
20% just with that?
it, yeah, pretty much. Because what I would tell you too is I think the
How crazy is
statistic
that?
in America is that I think 50 to 60% of our households or people cannot come up with $1,000 cash unless they sell something. So just play that out. If you have $1,000 cash, you're instantly in the top 40%. you're already on the right side of the bell curve. If you
Right.
if you have I mean, think about how low hanging of a fruit that is. Like that's ridiculously low. And for people that just get this like paralysis by analysis, or like they just get paralyzed in their emotions and oh, woe's me crap, you know. It's like, really? This is pretty low. Like I'm pretty aware that if you can't achieve this, maybe you shouldn't breed. You know,
It,
maybe you should
it
look in the
seems like
mirror a little bit more.
the people who can't achieve that are the ones breeding the most.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
think,
another side of the coin too.
yeah,
But
but
I think it goes back to people need to look in the mirror more and point the finger at that person as opposed to, you know,
yeah.
point the finger anywhere else, you
Well,
know,
man, well,
and
man,
stop saying I can't.
I can't is a huge thing to eliminate out. Just trying to eliminate it out of your vocabulary and catching
Yeah.
yourself on saying it is a huge way to learn accountability.
We do two push-ups in our house if anybody says I can't. Everybody gets down and does two push-ups.
If anyone says it, so you have to take
Anybody.
it. So you have to take
Yeah,
the hit if someone
everybody.
else says it.
Cox family is a team.
Huh,
We're a business, we're an organization, we're a family, family first.
that's
And so,
huge, bro.
boom, yeah. Don't bring that poison into our house. Don't bring it.
How
We
fucking
don't have
crazy
time
is
for
it
that.
that
Yeah,
just
you
like you said,
if
having
you yawn,
$1,000 is forty
if you
percent.
yawn, get down, knock out two push-ups. We don't have time for bad language, bad body language. That's just as worse as somebody. It's just as bad as somebody's, you know, spewing something verbally. That's bad body language. It's all language. We don't
What,
have time for
yawning?
shitty language.
You've eliminated yawning in the house?
Oh, we haven't eliminated, but if somebody does it, you got to knock out two push-ups. We did that. Ask Tano. We did that. I did that with all my athletes. You know, we all wake up. You know, so if you got to train early, you might pop out a yawn, but if you're
Bro,
conscious of it,
I'd be so
don't
buff.
bring that. Yeah, don't bring that here.
I've got that like habit. I
But see, even look, you asked dealing with people's emotions. Notice it's not 20. 20 is going to make somebody want to kick you in the teeth, right? Like especially after like the third time, because we are human. But two, they're just going to kind of like grin, like laughingly, like, and they start catching each other as a team, as a family. And you're just like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to have hands on my hips. I don't need to be yawning. I need to be a better image of myself for the team. I need to have a better standard. And same with the language you say, the body language and the verbal language.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, your body language does say a lot. You can pick up a lot from it. I mean, try looking at actually you're probably doing it constantly. You're probably looking at people speaking in Nam and you're probably picking up a lot of body language to explain to yourself what they're saying to you, you know?
Well, it's a very tonal language. It's tough too, because some of it does look very kind of angry when they're communicating. And you're like, they're not angry at all. They're just literally, it's just, it's how it kind of comes. And so you coming from somewhere else, you have to just go, wait a second, good intentions here, you know, and they're not at you. They're just like together. Like maybe they're just hanging out talking in a shop and you're like, whoa, this is heated, but it's not heated at all. And thank you
That's
so
cool.
much. Yeah. And that's the same thing, north, south in America, east, west, city versus urban. It's all there. I mean, you have to meet people where they're at, understand how they do business here to then adapt to the way things work here. And then you know what you do? You go to work, learn how things work, and then go to work. Don't try to come somewhere else and create this world of change to your beck and whim. No, you learn how things work here and then you learn and do the work and get along to go along.
And going back to the $1,000 thing and the people,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think it is, man? Do you think it's just like a lack of education? Because I kind of like I said, like you know, I used to sit around and stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning on Google trying to come up with business ideas or little like not schemes, little like hustles or you know whatever plans to make money. And you know, I'd be on like Alibaba before it was huge and trying to figure out if I ordered X amount of whatever product that I think would be popular, how much could I sell it for? But like I never had like the connecting information of like, hey, you like rich and wealthy was not two different things to me. Rich and wealthy were the same thing. And what made you rich was just how much money you make, not anything other than how much money you make a year or how much money comes to you, until I had somebody break it down or I got educated and explained to me, holy shit, there's a lot more to it than I even thought. You know, there's
Right.
rich and then there's wealthy and generational wealth and being smart with your money. Someone who makes 40 grand could technically have more money than somebody who makes 80 grand if they're, you know.
Absolutely.
And so do you think that like attributes to just like lack of information? Like it's not like you go to
No,
school. No.
no, it's 2023, man. It's 2023, buddy. You can get this information on like 5 TikToks from reputable sources. So it's not an information. We live in such a high speed information rate. It's a culture and a behaviors thing because it's not a lack of information on how to get strong and healthy. It's not a lack of information on not to eat, cookies and Oreos and drink big gulp sodas. There's not a lack of information on that. It's a lack of maybe like influences to like drive you towards maybe learning more in those areas, like focusing more time in those areas. Like if your interests go more towards Netflix and chill than in Call of Duty online gaming, which all are awesome, sure. But if you just get stuck in that, then you're like, well, let me just, order in some big gulps and some cookies. And all of a sudden you get consumed just throwing on the headset for 9 hours, and just loading up on processed sugars. So it's like you're not going to spend the time like trying to acquire the information on peptides, blood work, regenerative medicine, anti-aging treatments for your skin, and financial education. Like you're not going to do it. So it's more of a cultural thing. The information is so abundant out there, reputable and non-reputable, that even if you just started spending more time, everybody has 24 hours, everybody, let's call it 8 sleeps, works 8, you got 8 hours a day. Okay. And it's like, can you spend a little bit more time on the things that'll make you a better functioning human and a better productive member of your family and society as you go along in age? And most people don't think that question. And then most people don't spend more time focusing on gaining information. And therefore, they don't spend time on taking action in those areas.
That makes sense. And maybe because I was so persistent on it, maybe eventually I found the right group of people or the right type of people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's where I got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, some of it can be, it's nature, nurture, and circumstances. And some of your circumstances are luck. I mean, there's a little hint of luck in there, right? Like, you
Right.
know,
I would have kept, I mean, like if had I not run into like, the few people I talked to about money or business or financial literacy, that's what I keep calling it, but financial literacy,
yeah.
I would have kept searching or I would have kept trying. But maybe
And,
because I
and
kept searching, I
yeah,
finally found some answers, the right
damn
answers.
right. Yeah, exactly. So when you look back and you're like, man, all those things I didn't find on Google or whatever for what you were searching for, they did pan out. And now, as you can think about it, it's like, wow, they had my mind intrigued to learn how to do these things better. And eventually I stumbled along asking the right questions to the right people. And that's going to compound quicker now because you're going to ask more people and more of the correct people better questions. And those questions will lead to better answers. And you're going to take action then on the knowledge you acquire. And so you're going to acquire more knowledge of a higher critical weight. It's going to be better knowledge, and you're going to take more frequent actions. You're going to fail forward faster.
Fail forward faster. Here we are again. I think, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I think it'd be great to, as much good information there is out there, there is a lot of bullshit. But like you said, if you were even taking the bullshit information on most subjects and trying it, you'd be failing
Yeah,
forward. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That didn't work. Let's try this. That didn't work. Let's try this. So
Mm-hmm.
failing forward faster. It'd be great to get like you on and just watch some financial advice TikToks and just like
I
I think
like
that
those videos too.
I think that'd be a fun video to get to like sit down and just get your like
Yeah.
live reaction on some fucking TikToks.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
I don't
Because a
have
part
that
of it
app,
too
but
is like the more you can fail, the more you can learn, you know. Because if you're just going to keep going, then you're never going to ultimately fail. That's part of it. It's like, the buck stops here. Like everything, as long as you're looking in the mirror, taking ownership of Kevin Barry, then it's going to be the biggest win of your life to just keep going and keep learning.
one of my favorite things too is not saying I can't. I remember working on that, not doing that a long time ago. And I just remember catching myself saying it a lot. Like I can't. And the other thing that helped me too was not like I don't have time,
Mm-hmm.
because you have time, it's just not a priority.
Yeah.
So basically, like, instead of telling yourself I don't have time for this, you tell yourself it's not a priority right now,
Mm-hmm.
or that's
Mm-hmm.
not on my priority list. And that kind of got my mind mentally into like focusing on where to spend time. And also the I can't, it got me to shake, you know, put me at more of an accountability standpoint and more at a problem solving standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
Yeah.
saying I can't, it's
Remove,
like I could.
remove, remove the victim mindset. Remove it.
Yeah, really.
Just stop. Sometimes the best thing you can do in life is to just stop losing. Like if you're in a hole, just stop digging. Pause, get some perspective, then get some education, and then get an action plan, and then go to work. So just stop digging. Stop the shit that's negative and not feeding your future self. Just
It
stop.
it's crazy how negativity like is so much easier. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of like what media preys on is negativity and weakness.
absolutely. It
And
sells. But it's how you were wired, it's how you survived, it's in your DNA, it's your amygdala, your reptilian brain running wild to keep you alive and surviving. And then sometimes you just have to put the rider back on
the
the
elephant.
elephant
Yeah,
and let your prefrontal cortex do what the hell it developed to do.
that's I didn't know that. So that's where negativity comes from, like and that's why it's such a big sell, because we're wired like that. Is that how like
You
primitively?
can't get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. You don't get to keep replicating and spawning that way. So yeah, I mean that's you're supposed to be negative. Like as a parent, you already have more profiling and biases than you did 5 years ago when you were carefree and didn't have a care in the world,
It's so
right? So
fucking true.
instantly, yeah, I mean it's why. It's because you want your offspring to survive and thrive until you're gone. It's like, duh, it's not hard to figure out. It's just most people don't want to spend time on reading great biographies of people that achieved great things that came from nothing or anything like that. They just want to Netflix, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are just happy going for a hike. So just go for hikes. A lot of people are happy just toking a little weed and playing some Xbox. That's awesome. And if that's all you want for yourself, guess what? You were probably born in the right country that's going to allow that to happen forever. You know? So it's like, cool.
Yeah. You damn, I keep drawing blanks here. Sport captain. But damn, I was going to go down the lines of like the financial books and stuff, because
Yeah,
I
do
love
that.
I love when you send me like the Dave Ramsey stuff, because that guy
Hmm.
just seems like so big. Because I just feel like that dude just gets so much joy out of hearing these people call him up with fucked up situations, and then him just being like, "You're stupid." That is
Well,
stupid. But it's still like entertaining to me. And I sit here and think sometimes because I know you and like, you know, you send me these you just send me like good quality material, like, you know, educational stuff, people talking about how to handle money, how to process money, you know, money channels, investing channels. But
mhm.
like it's the one thing that doesn't change is like that Dave Ramsey shit. It's like the same thing every day, and I wonder if it's just like getting a constant kick out of like just watching people's fucked up situations.
It's not so much the kick about it. It's again, it's that clickbait effect to it. But it's also like this, like you, you still wonder how that's able to coexist. We just did the statistics. 60% of people can't come up with $1,000. So that's you have a population in America. Was it 340 million? 60% of that? Come on, that's massive. There's that's a plethora of opportunities for them to get call-ins that are just hilarious about idiots with, I went to Pepperdine or private whatever university and I'm $200,000 in debt for my underwater fire safety degree. Yeah, because you're an idiot. Yeah, you are. You know, it's like, no, we shouldn't cancel your debt. We should see if you can rise up and become like a productive member of society. Because we saw what happened when we do universal basic income. Like, just people go to Walmart and buy the TV. And this is the best thing to watch. When people are getting checks, Walmart and Target were pricing television sets at the exact like after tax amount as those checks. And they were doing great. I mean, come on, people. Like this car rims and everything, it was just perfect. Like it was hilarious. It's like, come on, you just gotta be better.
You we were just talking at dinner about like it's so weird how like you say like, oh, this is a horrible time to buy a house and a horrible time to buy a car. Everything's inflated. The interest rates are shit. You're paying
Yeah.
$15,000 over MSRP for your vehicle, and it's like it makes everybody run to go get it. Like, really, cars are overpriced. I'm gonna go get mine. Like, and and to sit back and just kind of think like didn't you just hear the conversation? Like, this is a horrible decision, but
Yeah.
people still fucking run to it, Jake.
And it all goes in cycles too. And that's not sexy and that's nothing you want to get on like CSNBC Squawk Box and tell people like, hey, we've got a debt ceiling. We got to move it up. That doesn't sell anything. I mean, we're the world reserve currency, over 60% of the world. Like it's use. Like the next biggest, I think, is EU in Europe. After that, it's like Japan makes up 8%. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna move it up. We're not defaulting. We move it up all the time. It's like us and one other country that just continuously moves their debt ceiling up. The rest of them just kind of like automatically put it in their legislation to go up as it is. Like they don't have to have a special moment about it. And it's like, oh gosh, your interest rates on your house are up. Well, historically, 6.5. Come on. It was like 14% in the 80s, And it's like, okay, well, guess what? When you have high interest rates, then your bank accounts actually become something somewhat productive, right? And they're just trying to capture inflation and bring it down. It's no wonder why it was there. We printed over 40% of the money ever in existence within a 2-year span. It's just math. Just shut up and go to work and spend less than you make. Learn how to make some more. You are in America. You are in first world countries. It is doable to have a side hustle. And it's important to, once you get a basic savings, to invest the rest of that money, because an investment account will outpace a savings account. And you can take ownership of the person in the mirror and you can do better every day and you can create your own plan because you have the freedom of choice. And not everybody's that well off that they have that choice or can do that. So treat it as a blessing, not an entitlement, and move forward a little bit every day. Like it's just like crap that sells. Like you see blinking like breaking news, debt ceiling. Okay, cool. So we're just going to move it up 1 hour before the time limit anyways. And in 18 months, watch, we'll be doing it again. That's it. That's all that's going to happen.
You're not worried.
No. How could you worry?
So,
I can't worry about like, you need to get the person in the mirror. Here's your order of operations for worrying. You need to first worry about the person in the mirror. Then you need to worry about the people in your bedroom, which is you and your wife. Then you need to worry about the people in your home. Then you need to worry about the people in your home and your neighbors, your community, your HOA, your county, your township, your gym, your coffee shop, your members. Then you need to worry about the people in your state. Then you need to worry about your country. Then you need to worry about your hemisphere. Then you need to worry about your global connection as a productive member here in society. Like, but that's the order. So instead of worrying about the world's economics, start focusing on yours, then yours and your wife's or your partner or spouse or whatever, and then your family, like how well educated are your kids on financial and physical and emotional structures, then go on out. I can't worry about the schools are doing if I'm a piss poor parent. The schools get my kids for 7 hours a day. I've got them the rest of it. I've got them 17 hours a day. So really, like, I'm already got them over 2/3 of the time. So it's kind of on me not to shit the bed, you know? So
right.
can't blame the teachers when I've got to be a reliable parent as well.
It's also a great lesson of just sticking to what you're in control of.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Just stop.
you can sit around and bitch about politics and the government all day long, but it's not really in your control.
Yeah. Marching's never achieved anything worth a shit. Like tweeting most likely has never achieved anything except canceling somebody, right? Like, and really, what does that do? Make that weirdo on Twitter feel good for like what, an hour, and then they go back and their life still sucks. So, it's cool. I mean,
it's mild entertainment for me. That's how I personally look at it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's things that I really want, and there's things that are admirable where I'm like, hey man, like, I'm glad you're doing this. Like I don't know if that episode I just posted like a little bit ago with Kyle came in the gym, black belt, fucking
He's from
really cool.
Maryland.
Yeah, really cool dude, man. Solid dude. But like that's an example of someone that's like, okay, well he's actually trying to do something about what he sees as right, and that's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? I really respect that drive and motive. And as much as people should do their part in helping when they can, I just kind of have to look at it as like what is really in your control, which goes to exactly what you were saying. Like, first of all, what's in my control? Order of operation, me. What else is in my control? Well, my family's well-being.
Your battle buddy that you sleep next to every night, right? And then the next is your children in your house. Well, what develops good children? Oh, reading to them at night before bedtime, brushing their teeth, taking baths, like forming basic, playing outside, getting dirty, digging into. Am I doing any of this with my kids? So no. Okay, so just start doing. Which one's easiest to do today? This hour, this minute. Okay, cool. Check the box. Move on. Like, so, 60% of marriages end in divorce. Why? Number one is money. Number two is communication. Number three is intimacy and romance. Number four is how you raise your kids. Maybe get some books on those four areas. Maybe sit down and have some communication time with them, unobstructed. Well, we can only do it at 5 a.m. Cool. Get a 5 a.m. routine on Sundays and get down with your battle buddy and go over how to be an actually better couple over the next 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. That's what it takes. Yeah, we all got 24 hours. Some of us don't want to work. And you know what's amazing? Hard work still works. Still works.
I agree with that.
You're in the land of all you want and all you wish. All you want and all you wish. And you can do it with one click buying and spending, maxing out credit cards, all you want, all you wish with student loans. Or you can do it a whole nother route, because one of them just keeps growing in a positive way and the other keeps growing in a negative way. but you're in the land of all you want, all you wish. It's not like you have to think hard. Well, why does everybody south of us want to come here? No, we don't need to think on that more than 5 minutes. We know why they want to come here, right? So we don't need to stress about the why. We just need to how do we do it correctly or whatever. And how do I, but before you even get there, you got to you got to get your own house in order.
The ever so critical thinker, Jake Cox. We're
Keeping
up.
it simple. Hey man, it's simple to do. It's simple not to do. That's the hard part about it, you know? It's like some of
Yeah,
this really isn't, none of this is rocket science, but
that's such,
it's not like, and we all
that's,
go through hard days, hard times, you know?
that's such a good way to
Cool.
put it, though. Like, it's easy to do, it's easy not
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. It's just like, well, are you tougher? I mean, so are you that weak and that soft? Like, are you just going to snowflake out? Like, really?
Oh, bro,
You're having mental angst about this in your life? Come on. Come
you're,
on.
you,
Do you think the steel, do you think like the iron steel workers that were working and walking on beams in New York to build skyscrapers in like the early 1900s were really stressed out about the same shit you're stressing out about? Like, do you
fuck no.
think that? I mean, come on. Why do
Them
you have to
bitches,
be so soft?
them dudes were eating lunch on a rafter, fucking 20 stories
Hmm.
up, and fucking
Yeah.
looking happy. You're like reading my mind tonight, dude. And I know we're hitting about the 90-minute mark. I don't know if you probably got to go. Um,
I gotta hit the restroom, but no, I'm good.
okay.
I'm good.
You need to hit it now?
Yeah, can I do that?
Yeah, go
Thanks,
ahead.
buddy. Do I have to shut this off or what?
No, just leave it running, and then let me know when you're
All
back.
right.
Do my magic editing.
I like that. Put my headphones here.
I think the podcast is fucking sick. If you're listening to it and you're like, I don't know if I want to listen to the next episode of this podcast, you're probably a bitch ass. You need to listen to the next episode of this podcast and keep listening to it. Because my friends down here are trying to make shit happen. And we're
That's
going to make some shit happen.